After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
The unprecedented happened at Daytona, and now the unprecedented needs to begin happening for the Simpit Road Racing Series top driver Sam Holt to regain control of the championship. Just feet, meters if you will, from the start-finish line. Sam Holt last week at Daytona had a hardware failure and could not make it to the start-finish line, crashing out of that race and coming to a stop on the tri-oval banking, losing the race to Tadalea, who sped by as Sam was having everything go wrong. We're halfway through the season and the race is more than on, with Randall White leading the show, and Sam has a widening gap at this point to make up to Randall for the championship. Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Monza, Italy. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costo alongside in the booth. We're back to those traditional feeling Grand Prix style courses today, JP, but nothing really compares to the Temple of Speed. Nothing really gets you ready for Monza until you are in the thick of competition.
Absolutely. It's one of those fantastic racetracks that I think everybody loves. You know, just the massive high speed, the big braking zones, the countless overtaking opportunities that you have on this racetrack is just one of those greats that we all know and love. First things first, is awesome to be back here with you and with these guys, Andrew. I missed a lot on the last 2 weeks, just working on Sundays, but I'm glad to be back. And well, what a place to be back. Temple of Speed. Cannot wait for the show that these guys are going to put on tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, and it always is here at Monza, really anywhere we go with the Simpit Road Racing Series. Thanks for joining us today here at the virtual Monza, Italy. 3.57 miles, 5.75 kilometers or so. And here's a look at the track map. And this is a classic circuit, a very classic road racing circuit, be it in Formula One or otherwise. Of course, turn one, it is now a chicane. It used to be just a straight cut through, straight to Curva Grande, and Curva Grande actually used to be turn one, but thankfully we have that chicane. It opens up a lot. It really opens up a big passing opportunity. Obviously, it keeps things safer, and it means we usually have better racing.
Yeah, absolutely. The big braking zone down into the first chicane is obviously amazing. Very tricky as well if you're going for an overtake. Then obviously, as you mentioned, turn 3, Curva Grande. And then we have turns 4 and 5, another chicane, Variante della Roggia. And that one is obviously a bit more tricky to overtake than the first one, but it's still plenty of moves I think we're going to see tonight. Then obviously we have the Lesmo 1 and 2, turn 6 and 7, and Andrew. Then we come, I guess, to the third straightaway that we have on the circuit, where we might see a lot of moves being done as we head into Variante Ascari. Obviously an iconic corner, quite tricky sometimes depending on the track temperature and the condition of your tires. We could see some incident there. And then obviously another big straightaway too. I guess one of the most iconic as well in this circuit, Curva Parabolica. It's absolutely amazing, Andrew. And well, just as quick as we are done through the lap, just talking about it is pretty much how quick the lap is. I think we're going to be, a 1 minute 20, 1 minute 30 on this lap. It's just going to be fantastically quick.
Yeah, the GTE lap record here set by Christopher Lillum is actually a 141.582 in a Ferrari 488 GTE, and it makes sense that the Ferrari is fastest here of all time in iRacing, but the lap of record in practice is a 143.960, and that is just about a second and a half off of that lap record. I'm sure that lap record is a few builds old, but certainly still a good lap nonetheless. Let's take a look at our standings that we're talking so much about, with Sam Holt losing last week at Daytona when he really should have won that race. He is now fourth in the standings, and we'll get to the strategy. I really want to talk about Sam's strategy from last week here in a moment, but we'll talk about just the points first. Tadalea, Joao Antonio, really different seasons to this point. In fact, Tadalea grabs the win last week at Daytona, but they are only 1 point apart. Granted, they are both nearly 40 points out of this point lead to Randall White, who started to run away with things just by being there, just by podiuming and not missing races, not getting into trouble. He's looking good.
Absolutely. No, that consistency is definitely paying off as we head into the second half of the season. 40 points is a big gap, Andrew. At this point, he just needs to continue doing what he's doing. Isn't that right? I mean, if he just continues podium finishing, getting himself out of trouble, he could have this in the bag. Then obviously, as you mentioned, Tadalea, Joao Antonio, 1 point separating them. Then obviously we have Sam Holt, 2 victories in the bag, 46 points behind. He needs some catching up to do. Then obviously stand on it. Just 1 point ahead of Terry Crouch. Jan Christensen, Moses Troy, Johnny Alford, and Sean Cole are top 10. Then obviously as we head into the amateur side, the championship is a bit closer, only 20 points separating Edgar and David. And I feel like that's one battle also to look, because Daniel Clark ain't that far behind either.
Yeah, we've been monitoring that amateur battle as the weeks have gone by, and you're looking at really 4 drivers that are at the top of that series, being, or I guess the class, if you will, being Edgar Santinelli, David Payne, Daniel Clark, and Chris Schultheis. Now, Dustin Oberlo does have a win in that class, but he is 11th in the standings, not quite making our top 10 here for the graphic. So he's quite a ways back, over 100 points out. So we're really, again, looking at the top 4, honestly, even the top 3. I'm not sure Schultheis can really get there at this point in the season because we have fewer and fewer amateurs, it seems like, as the weeks go by, which means it's harder to make up points. So you're really, I think, looking at the top 3, and honestly, I don't know how you're going to upset Santinelli unless you're David Payne with the 2 wins already under your belt and the extra 7 points over Daniel Clark, but we'll have to monitor today. And again, this is the halfway point in the season. We've seen these leads be built to this point, so that means these leads can technically be taken down. It's just going to be difficult to do so. So 5 races to go, and that begins today here at Monza. Taking a look at the schedule, Austin began our season back on October 2nd, and we are now on November 6th. So 1 month of competition. It was an odd 5 Sunday month, I guess, in October, but now we are into November, properly into fall, and boy, it's starting to get chilly, at least up here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know it's getting a little warmer for you, JP, but it's going to be a very, very interesting, I guess, plunge, if you will, into the winter here for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're turning on the heater. I'm turning on the AC because it's certainly getting hotter in here. But yeah, now the championship is definitely, I think the tracks, Andrew, are going to be more challenging if you think about it. You know, obviously Monza, even though it's a simple track, it gets a bit more difficult. So those drivers that, you know, are leading the championship and are comfortable, they got to watch out a little bit because these tracks, they can catch you out. Obviously Red Bull Ring as well. Circuit de la Sarthe is going to be absolutely amazing. Then obviously we head into the last 2, which is going to be Sebring and Fuji in almost a month from now. They're certainly going to be amazing, and well, we can hope that both championships go down to the final lap of the race in Fuji. Wouldn't that be something, Andrew?
Yeah, we have a really stacked back end of this schedule. Of course, Monza today is just a classic. Austria next week is going to be so fast and so punishing to some drivers. Then Le Mans right before Thanksgiving, Sebring right after Thanksgiving, and Fuji to round out this championship as we break into December. A really stacked set of races to finish off the season. Qualifying is on track, and you're seeing drivers go to the top of the board. Joe Antonio, one of the first. Now, how about Todd Alea, second place, just under 2/100ths of a second behind Joa, and of course Moses Choi, Stan Donnie, see everybody else in the top of the order moving up the field and putting down their qualifying time. Sam Holt first lap out was a bit of a wash. It was a 1:53, so that tells me he was likely either victim to a spin or an off track, or actually either one of those would have invalidated the lap time, so probably just trying to warm up tires and sit back.
Absolutely, and this is one of those tracks that you really need the slipstream to do a great lap, don't you? I mean, raw pace on your own isn't going to do a whole lot for you. You need to be behind someone. You need to take advantage of the slipstream. And the driver who essentially, you know, nails that slipstream, makes the most out of it, I think is going to be the driver that's going to be sitting on pole. As you can see now, Sam Holt has the benefit of 2 drivers ahead of him, and I think one of his is his teammate just ahead. So this could work out perfectly, as, looks like both of them are out in front of him.
You know, one of those Porsches pulling off track. Now, we have not seen Terry Crouch in a couple of weeks, and it sounds like maybe he won't be back today. I don't know if he'll be back next week, but hopefully all is well for Terry Crouch. Hopefully he's watching today or later on watches this one as a VOD, but I don't see his name anywhere on the list for the second week in a row, which is really unfortunate for Terry, considering how he started this season off. And there you go, Sam Holt on the top of the board, a 1:44.462. Down on amateur, by the way, Santinelli is leading the way in that BMW. And this, you know, I thought it would be last week at Daytona where the BMW shined. It could be here today at Monza. I thought Daytona, straight line speed, it was going to work out for you. Maybe that's today where we get that straight line speed finally for the BMWs.
Yeah, if it's 1 week that's going to work out, it's going to be this one. And I think Le Mans, too, we could see these BMWs really shining. And currently, well, he's doing just that on the amateur class, Andrew. He's the only one in the top 10, and he's currently, well, just about 1.6 faster than the next amateur driver who's sitting, I think, in 16th place. Does he improve his lap? On this case, he doesn't, but it looks like the consistency is there as it was on the 145s again. And well, if he can get a benefit of a bit of a slipstream just ahead, Andrew, we could see that BMW, well, looks like not going to be on this lap, but you could have seen him jumping up maybe in the top 5.
Worth mentioning, there is a large gap between first and second right now in qualifying. 4/10 between Sam Holt and Joa Antonio, who we're on board with now. Joa and a 144.864 is 4/10 and change off of Sam Holt. That is a bit of slipstream for sure at the beginning of the lap. It might not have had it where he wanted it at the back end of the lap there for Sam, but hopefully Joa can use this lap to at least chip into that margin. Not having slipstream right now out of turn 5 as it was, or I guess turn 7, Lesmo 2. Gotta get that one down. Out of Lesmo 2 anyway, he's not going to be able to pick up a whole lot of time, but now he might actually have a bit of draft. Heading out of Ascari, might have something for Parabolica. No, that is one of the TLDR cars pulling off and out of the way. It's going to be a tough opportunity then for Joa. Only one lap likely in the bank, maybe 2 more laps that he can use, and tires are starting to get worn.
But dare I say, this is going to be one of those tracks that I think qualifying, this gap in qualifying shouldn't be too relevant. If Joa, even if he starts second, he could be using a handful of strategies to try and jump Sam Holt, if obviously he can keep up with the pace of the number 18. Currently, he
that lap slower.
Does not. Yeah, just 1/10 of a second, less than 1/10 of a second slower. But in the race pace, Andrew, if he can keep himself close to Sam Holt, he could be getting the benefit of a few, strategies that we all know. I think, especially me and you from NRL, just saving fuel and trying to jump on the pit stop. Meanwhile, it looks like Full Dom's jumping to second, just 7 thousandths, there we go, of a second behind Sam Holt. That was a good lap for him.
That is a fantastic lap, but it's a Ferrari to P2. Could we see the Ferraris come back a little bit today? Wouldn't that be special here at Monza, seeing some Ferraris rise to the occasion? Flo Dom certainly giving it his all. So we'll see what he may be able to do as he chips into that margin greatly to Sam Holt. Clearly proving that it is possible to get up to that lap time. It's just going to be difficult for these guys. We took a look briefly at Randall White. We'll go back to that Porsche as he comes across the line and actually begins a new lap time. That last lap was an out lap. So this is his final flying lap opportunity here for Car 84. Our point leader, the qualifying effort currently, I think, sums it up best. 5th place. He hasn't necessarily been at all the best car here. He has not been, I think, turning really that many heads as far as just sheer pace, but his finishing ability in these races is what has put him in this position. Just keeps himself in a nice position, does not let himself get too wrapped up in the moment or anything, does not make mistakes. And Car 84, I think, truly has, well, clearly the best chance to win the championship. But I think even if we were to put them on level ground right now, or more level ground, I think Randall White would shine. I'm not so sure that level ground Sam wouldn't beat Randall, but yeah, Randall's been fantastic so far this season. Tadalay up to 3rd now in qualifying. That's ahead of Joa Antonio. Randall White is about 4 100ths, actually 5 100ths off of Joa, so he's got some work to do. But Tadalay breaking into that gap as well. Things are narrowing up at the top of the board. Meanwhile, Sanginelli, your amateur pole sitter, well, he's 10th as Flo Doms, a 144.279, and immediately toes back to the pit lane. What does Sam Holt have in response?
He needs to have a great lap, Andrew. Looks like there's no one ahead of him, so if he's going to do this, it's going to be all on his own. And, well, I mean, this is going to be the lap if Sam wants that pole position. Tadalay as well looks like he's coming up to Ascari, if I'm not mistaken. You can see the number 426. He's currently, looks like
it's a Parabolica.
Approaching Parabolica, yeah. So he's going to be finishing his lap. He's going to be one of the first drivers that we're watching to finish his lap.
Randall White, P3.
So Randall White jumps. Nice lap from him, P3. What can the 426 do, Andrew? He needs to improve by a few tenths of a second. He's aiming for a 44.9, but he does not improve, 45.2 on this lap. So he's going to be stuck with that position. Tadalay drifts on all 4 wheels, looks like. He's going to be trying the shortest approach possible to the line. Can he improve on his lap? No, just barely.
Final two cars on the racetrack are Sean Cole and Dale Maxwell. Sean Cole, I think the biggest highlight for him was back at Watkins Glen, where unfortunately it was a bit of a low light, actually, where he ended up actually crashing out of that race in turn 6. But Sean has had a fantastic season in that he has made some noise with these battles he's had in the midfield, and he's had a couple of struggles for sure, but the leader of the Simpit, if you will, has been definitely a lot of fun to watch on the racetrack, and that's one of the most important things, is to just have fun with this, and maybe even the most important thing, really, is to just have fun with racing. Sean Cole has done exactly that this season. Car 39, going to wrap up his qualifying run this time. Let's see if he goes any faster in this Porsche 911 RSR. He's the final car on track, and that lap, yes, a second better. That puts him in the top 10. 7th for Sean Cole. The buzzer beater lap time for Sean. That is impressive.
That was very good. He's one of my favorite drivers to watch, especially the last round I covered was Watkins Glen. He was really good at that. Unfortunately, I think he had an incident, but it's just a fun driver, and that improvement on qualifying Andrew on the last lap, that's definitely going to give him a huge boost for the race.
Qualifying complete, so we've got 20 some odd cars, in fact 26 cars ready for racing here at Monza, an expected 35 laps in 60 minutes of racing, and we'll talk about strategy on our pace lap if we get the brief opportunity to do so, or we'll wait. But I really have a highlight for the strategy conversation based on Sam Holt's strategy from last week at Daytona. I think it's going to come into effect here today. But let's go ahead and meet our starting grid for our 6th round of the season, again here at Monza. Flo Dom starts from pole, and that is honestly an earth-shattering, in at least this league, pole grab for Flo Doms, ahead of Sam Holt, who has been so fast this season. Starting 3rd, though, you'll find points leader Randall White. Tanaleo starts from 4th today. Starting 5th, it's Joey Antonio in car 31. Kevin Burrows starts from 6th. To wrap up your top 10, it's Sean Cole, Moses Choi, Stan Donnett, and Johnny Alfred, a Corvette, making the top 10 here at Monza.
Starting with row number 6, you're going to have Ed Sancinelli on the number 57, that beautiful BMW, and Chad Rogers on 12th place alongside him. In row number 7, on the inside, we're going to have Sam Hinchey in the number 93, and the number 73 of David Payne alongside him in 14th place. 15th place is starting row number 8. We're going to have Schulteis in the number 008, and the 194 Andrew of Alish Mom in 16th place. 17th place, we're going to have on the inside Brendan Carl in the number 77 and the number 88 of Dustin Oberlo in 18th place. And finally, row number 10 on the inside, starting 19th place, we're going to have Dale Maxwell in the 111 and the number 72 of Christian Clark on the outside.
Your final 6 cars in the grid look like as follows. The Ferrari of Nicholas Batista, Eric Hardiman there in car 52. Starting 23rd, you'll find Clint Fletcher in that pink Porsche, then Mike Nickham in his black Corvette. And to round out the field, Chris Generelli in car 7 and Wouter Van Mariek there in car 668 to wrap up the 26 car field. Cars rolling out onto the track. They're actually already on the track. Let's talk about weather quickly. 80 degrees in the air, 81 degrees on track. It's not that hot here in Monza, Italy. It is a nice day for racing for sure. Winds out of the northeast at about 7 miles per hour. They are there, but not super substantial. We'll monitor that throughout the course of the race and see if those winds pick up. But the strategy option that I think we've got to talk about today, certainly, is what Sam Holt did last week. And JP, we've seen in countless GT races prior where the top 3 or 4 drivers will get in a line and they will draft. They'll sit and save fuel to take as little fuel as possible on their pit stop and then run flat out to the checkers. However, what Sam Holt did last week was, because usually the leader gets trapped into just being out front. They won't get past. The guys behind them don't want to pass them and have to burn more fuel, so the leader has to burn that fuel. Sam Holt actually undercut, pitted early to get back in the field and used draft to save fuel from there and was in position to win. That, I think, is a wonderful strategy, not only because it is get him out of that situation to where he can draft, but it puts the guys in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th into the dirty air, or I guess into the clean air, and into the brunt of that, and they have to start using their fuel. So we'll watch for that today at Monza as we get ready to go racing from the Temple of Speed in Monza, Italy, down to the grid, down to the start-finish line, and we are racing already in Italy. Green flag is out. Oh, Sean Cole already locking up, and that is one heck of a crazy save for him. Gets the car back underneath him, but boy, was that scary down to the first corner. Thankfully, it looks like otherwise. A nice and clean first corner for us today. That is always what you want to see here at Monza.
Absolutely, my heart went through my mouth, Andrew, as soon as I saw that Porsche kind of drifting off into the grass, but that was an absolutely amazing save by Sean Cole. It looks like everybody's pointing in the right direction. Coming up to the second chicane, now we're going to see these Porsches and these Ferraris, these GT cars jumping on those curbs, and you can see now everybody pretty much single file already as we're trying to settle down a little bit. As you can see there, the leader, Flo Doms, kind of trying to break away from his teammate Andrew, but looks like the job is going to be very, very difficult on the sea of Porsches, that lonely Ferrari up front.
The entire field work on through Lesmo too, and a couple of cars going wide. Clint Fletcher, one of them, already getting an off track. That's not what you want to do here, but it is easy to do on this opening lap, especially with cold tires. Into Ascari already. Our leaders work on through, and boy, is that one heck of a shot. Clipping to the ground a little bit, but yeah, real good look at the curbing there through Ascari and just how far these guys are willing to go onto those curbs to gain as much time as possible. Already down to Parabolica, though. Our leaders work into the final corner here at Monza on lap 1. Flodom, Sam Holt, in a very clean first lap. Granted, the field being spread out now by 16 seconds after just one lap. Make that 17 seconds as we come to the start-finish.
And that is just one lap complete, and you can see the top two essentially breaking away from the slipstream of Randall White, who's in third place. So he's not going to be benefiting too much if he wants to do a bit of fuel saving. As you can see, two Porsches going side by side as we head into turn number 1. Looks like they have that saddle done, and you can see there the number 77, it looks like, and the number 84 of Randall White. You can see just on your picture currently in 4th place. Looks like he just lost that position, but you know, at least he's on the slipstream, and it looks like the top 4, top 5 are catching up to the leaders again.
Onboard shot from Sam Holt, and already he's saving fuel. Now, I wonder if Flo Dom's going to have his druthers about him or not, if he's actually going to try and sit back behind Sam, or if this is maybe a teammate ploy, a teammate job here to maybe help Sam save fuel and put him in position to finally win another race and get the points that he needs for this championship. Again, Daytona last week, that hardware failure coming to the start-finish line, so heartbreaking for Sam, and that's going to hurt him big time as far as trying to win this championship. As Clint Fletcher a bit off pace, but we continue on. That's just, I mean, that is a huge bump in the road. It's not just a bump in the road as far as one more thing to overcome. That's a lot of points that he lost, that he was going to have, and he lost, and it's an extra few points to Randall White in trying to catch up to that driver. So big problems. You can't have that kind of thing happen, really, if you're Sam. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that's out of his control. He didn't make that mistake. His hardware decided, nope, you're just not winning this race today at Daytona, and it was rather unfortunate for sure. So the question then becomes, can he overcome that? Can he overcome the entire field today and, well, go win this race? That's the first step, right, to winning this championship. Now, you're buried so deeply in points, you've just got to go out there and win. There's no other option other than win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if he wants a shot at this championship, it's not a question anymore. It's an affirmative. He has to overcome, what happened last week if he wants a shot. He cannot let that, bring him down or anything. He needs to win this race, one way or the other to make sure he gets, every single point available to him. And, it's just going to be a question, Andrew. In 56 minutes, who's going to be crossing the line first? Is it going to be the number 14, 18, 27, 84? Someone else that is still not in the top 5 for some reason? We just got to wait and see. Meanwhile, we can see the number 008 right here of Schultheis. Looks like he's challenging, coming up to the second chicane, Andrew. And you can see that beautiful shot inside the BMW, following yet another BMW for 12th place.
Here's Ed Sancinelli, your leader, that is just ahead of Schultheis in AM. These two drivers, both in BMWs, they're always around each other, although they're usually around another BMW that I don't see around them today. I wonder if he's actually here now. I'm not seeing him in the order. And, his name would stick out to me. I can't think of his name off the cuff, but there is one more. Oh, hang on. I've almost got it. It almost came to mind for a second, but it's usually that white BMW, and I can't think of it. It's not Schultheis. Oh,
the
man.
M livery BMW?
Yeah, I can't think of it for some reason. I can't think of his name. regardless, these BMWs, they seem to always find each other. I don't know if they're working together, I don't know if they're on the same setups, but they're always around each other here in the Simpit Road Racing Series. Ola Sarnquist, that's the driver. I knew there was an O in there somewhere, and I just couldn't piece it together. Ola Sarnquist. Don't see him in the field today. Very odd, actually, for Ola, but hopefully he's back with us next week at Red Bull Ring. But regardless, again, these BMWs, they seem to always stick together. Sometimes they have successes, sometimes not so much. And right now they're battling for first and second in AM class. David Payne third. He is 16th on the racetrack, whereas these two guys are 12th and 13th. So that kind of tells you around about the gap there for first, second, and third in your amateur division. Nicholas Batista 4th, Alesh Mom 5th, Dustin Oberlo 6th, Mike Nickum 7th, and Christian Clark and Eric Hardiman at the back of the field 8th and 9th in class. Up at the front, nothing changing, JP. How do you write this one? If you're one of the drivers, how do you try and work this race? Do you go with that new undercut that we have not seen before, aside from last week at Daytona with Sam Holt? It was kind of the debut of that strategy for us. Or do you try and play the long game like we've usually seen because it's tried and true? What do you do in this case?
Oh, that's a great question, Andrew. I feel like at this point, obviously you start thinking about a strategy as soon as lap 1 is over. And at this point, I think you just have to analyze the pace of the driver in front of you. If Sam Holt realizes he can go much faster, as looks like the number 56, unfortunately had an incident outside of one of the Lesmos, I think that is. But you just have to analyze. David Payne looks like he was also involved. You can see quite a bit of damage to that Porsche. So unfortunately, around lap 3 or 4, some drivers having issues. Looks like trying to overtake one another. And we're going to get a replay of that as we speak. And, well, after the replay, I'll resume my train of thought, Andrew. Otherwise, I won't be able to talk neither about one or the other. So let's take a look at exactly what happened between these two. As you can see, that Corvette is way up ahead. So I wonder if they are both connected.
Well, this is Mike Nickum, and actually we've just, the timing is just, it's never with us, but we've just had a lead change. Sam Holt is on through to the lead. We'll recap that battle in a moment with Flo Doms. It's rather interesting that Sam has gone to the race lead. I wonder if that was a slip-up from Flo, or if Sam was actually trying to take that spot away. But regardless, this is Mike Nickum. He's going to have an issue, I believe, until Lesmo 1. So this is a little bit early on the replay, but you can see kind of the build-up here for him. And as to what happened, well, we're about to find out. Clint Fletcher into turn number 4. The second chicane here at Monza, no issue there. No issue on exit in turn 5. And oh, Flo Doms just had another issue live. Moses Choi now. So much is happening all at once, and that's the issue for Mike Nickum as he spins around in Lesmo 1. Moses Choi dropping down the order. And then there was this issue for David Payne that we've got to try and find. I'm looking for him. Here he is. This has already happened, so let's diagnose this a little further and then get up to our race lead. It always seems, JP, right when we try to recap something in the back of the field, the guys at the front, they decide to have their fun. But this is the issue for David Payne, last week's winner and maybe one of the strongest amateur drivers. And the 77 of Brandon Carl got off track, came back across, and takes out the 73 Porsche out of Canada. Payne, thankfully, continuing on. Just a lot of pain to that right front of the car.
I was going to say that exact same thing, but you beat me to it. Unfortunately for David Payne, you can see nothing of his wrongdoing, unfortunately just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Now I want to see exactly what happened. You can see there Sam Holt looks like he's just going to go for a move down into turn number 1, which is extremely surprising, Andrew, especially for us that I guess we're accustomed, to watching NARL and not seeing, the leader being overtaken, especially on tracks like these. But you can see there a beautiful move for Sam to take the lead. But you mentioned that Flo Doms unfortunately had another incident, and that unfortunately dropped him from P2 all the way back. So I wonder if it happened on the Lesmos, as we just saw 2 incidents on 1 or 2, or did it happen before?
Here's Flo Doms into, there we go, the second chicane, just trying to get into that corner and actually nearly hit Sam Holt. He goes off, cuts that chicane, gets back on, gives those spots up. Meanwhile, this was the issue for Moses Choi, the driver that really took the brunt of this issue, or whatever happened on this lap, and he, just completely something happened wrong in the second chicane. He's off track and will finally get back going. He is now in the 14th position behind Chad Rogers and ahead of Alesh Mom. So it's lap 6. And all of that just happened. Lap 6, Sam Holt is leading the way. 10 minutes elapsed here at Monza, and that is how exciting it is going to be, I think, the rest of the day. We're going to have things happening on top of each other. That's just how it goes here with the Simpit Road Racing Series. This first half of the broadcast brought to you by Gomez Sim Industries. A big thank you to them partnering up with the Simpit Road Racing Series as per always. And actually a big thank you to all of our partners here with the Simpit Road Racing Series. The Simpit, of course, at thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. A nod as well to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media SimCams, SimWrapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Things opening up at the front of the field, but what has not opened up is this gap from Tadalea to Sam Holt. In fact, it's narrowing as they head down to turn 1, and that was a big clutch there for Tadalea. These guys already putting the clutch in at the end of these straightaways, saving fuel. It's just kind of the norm at this point. It is status quo for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my opinion right now, Andrew, the number 27, Tadalea, is in the best, in the best place possible to win this race. You know, from what we're used to, the leader cannot save nearly as much fuel as the guy behind him. As you can see there, Sam Holt is clearly saving fuel as well, but he's not going to be able to save nearly as much as Todd because obviously of that slipstream, especially on a place around Monza. Obviously, don't rule out Flo Doms just yet. He's only 1.8 behind the leader. He's 1.4, 1.5 behind Tadalea. And if these two keep fuel saving and Flo keeps pushing, it's just going to be a matter of time before, you know, they catch each other. And this
Flo Doms problems.
Oh, I'm not going to say anything anymore on this race, Andrew.
Oh, you can't pull out in front of cars there, Flo. That was scary. And, oh, now he's going to get right in front of the amateur leader and turns across his nose nearly. I think Flo is a little bit flustered right now as here comes Crystal Theis now with an opportunity on Edgar Santinelli presented to him by that issue in the Lesmos for Flo Doms. Let's check this out before we get a replay. No move into Ascari, thankfully, from Schultheis on Santinelli. That could have been a little bit scary. So, racecraft certainly in play there. But let's go back and see what happened to Flo Doms. You gotta be a little, I guess, safer. The Lesmos like that, there's not much room to see what's going on. There's not much racing room in the first place. And Flo, of course, is, at this point, panicking a little bit. He tries to get back going after that contact and nearly takes off the right side of Kevin Burrow's machine. But you've got to wait just a little bit longer. This was scary.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very close to that portion. Not quite sure who that was.
Sam Hinchey.
But you can see, or Sam Hinchey, yeah, and you can see just, pretty much avoidance right there from the BMW. Really, really close, Andrew. You could see there that Flo Doms pretty much did what Lewis Hamilton did in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, just dipping the wheel a bit too far away, and you can see their damage on that front end. And he's definitely going to be slowing Santinelli and Schultheis a bit, dare I say, as he has a bit of damage on that front end. So this could help these two, Andrew, pushing maybe just a little bit forward, saving a bit of fuel for both. But certainly heartbreak, and certainly things are going very, very wrong for the number 14.
Ahead of these guys now, stand on Sean Cole, the battle for 7th. Sean Cole and, well, actually both these guys in a Porsche. Sean, with that beautiful qualifying effort there at the back end of the session, goes 7th in that session and, starts from 7th today. Not quite the start that he wanted to this race. He's been as low as 8th and actually just lost this position then to stand on it, but regardless, a pretty good day in the works for Sean, and I think that's what he needs when you look at the standings at this point in the season. But Sean now working on his friend and fellow competitor there in car 401, Stan Donnet, who, by the way, this week is sporting another nod to Valentino Rossi. He's definitely got Valentino Rossi on his mind, putting out these beautiful paint schemes as kind of an homage to him, and a beautiful car this week again.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I like this change of livery. If you can do it one every week, one new livery per weekend, it's certainly going to be interesting. And obviously, the finale is normally the most striking one, as we have one car into the pit lane, and that's Hardman, the number 52. Looks like he's going to for an early stop, or definitely something happened to him, because we still have well over half the race still to go.
Well, anytime you see the pit lane time and pit box time be identical, that is the sign of a tow back to the pit lane, and this is the issue for Hardman. Noses it into the barrier there out of Lesmo 2, and tows to the pit lane. Actually, he was going to continue on and then decided, no, let's go ahead and call it a day.
Exact same thing that happened to Flo Doms. I'm pretty sure you mentioned Lesmo 2, so a bit further ahead on the racetrack, but you can see pretty much the exact same mistake. As we cut back to live pictures, you can see just how close these two are. The number 426 of Kevin Burrows just barely 5 tenths of a second behind Joe Antonio, and Randall White just ahead of these two. So this is a nice 3-car battle right here, Andrew. And Randall White, even though he's in third place, the highest position, he's theoretically in the worst position possible to save fuel, isn't he?
Well, yes and no, because he's had some time behind Todd Alea before those guys took off, so he saved some fuel. And again, this strategy option that Sam Holt employed at Daytona last week, I think it really opens up a lot of possibilities as the lead driver to pit a little bit early once that pit window opens and get back in the field and try and draft a little bit. Now, I'm not entirely sure where drivers would, flow back onto the racetrack today, where they would merge back in. We have fewer cars today. We have actually a tighter field in the back. I don't know if there's really that same opportunity today, but I think it's definitely worth exploring for guys like actually Randall White, where he doesn't really have a whole lot to... he does have a lot to lose, but he's got a big cushion. He can actually experiment for a race. As here goes Joey Antonio in the Simtrax number 31 to the inside of Randall. It's for third. And that challenge will stand for the first apex, but the second apex here at turn 1 and 2, the first chicane, and Joa goes off, and oh, that was a checkup for sure. That was scary.
That was scary, but that was a good save. You can see him smashing on the brakes to not allow the car to spin around. He loses a few seconds and loses contact with those two, but I'm pretty sure he would take that over to spin, Andrew. And unfortunately for him, his challenge around the outside did not really, go to fruition. But obviously, he opened an opportunity for Kevin to try his luck on Randall White. And we could see right there, Andrew, even though the number 84 is leading the championship, he's not afraid to go side by side and defend that final podium position.
Well, yeah, that's how he's done it so far, is he's podiumed. He's just continuously podiumed here in this series to keep gaining points, and been doing a fantastic job of it as well. So Randall White doing everything he needs to do to keep himself in the position that he's currently in standings. Meanwhile, stand on it, Sean Cole, very close as they head down this long straightaway to Ascari, and this could be a nice little battle. There we go. Sean Cole flinches there to the inside, moves down there, and now we'll give that spot right back up into Ascari. Decided to test those waters, but those waters just not warm enough for him yet.
Yeah, but he's definitely warming them up, Andrew, because if you're brave enough to even put your nose down into his carry and you think about a move, you could be upsetting the driver ahead of you. You could be, just letting him know, yeah, I'm here. I might make a move here or there. Just, keep your heads up and keep looking in your mirror. Hopefully you make a mistake so I can go through. So a good strategy for Sean Cole. Definitely one, that's going to take some time, I guess, to really work out and stand on it. But, if Stan makes a mistake, well, Sean is going to be there to capitalize on it.
18 minutes complete. Here in about 3 more seconds. Love this shot here in turn 1, watching these guys fire over those curbs. That was a good shot through the side there of Stan's car for a moment. You see them drive away from you in turn number 2. And this race finally calming down a little bit. We had all of that action in the first 10 minutes or so, and the action's not over, actually, as we have a battle for 16th position. Fletcher takes the spot over Maxwell, but it's calming down ever so slightly in that we aren't having crashes, we aren't having offs, right? We're able to at least sit back and watch these guys battle a little bit, and it's still not calm necessarily, but it's more calm as Sancinelli goes off track a little bit, gives up some time to Schultheis. When does Chris make the move? Here we go, Lesmo 1, here it is.
You can see 2 BMWs going side by side. The only 2 BMWs on the field, but they're certainly putting on a show for us as they went side by side through Lesmo 1, and you can see right there, Schultheis, fortunately, I guess, for him and for the battle, backs out, and he's going to be losing a bit of contact to Sancinelli, but that was an interesting move. He just capitalized on Sancinelli's mistake and tried to go for a move, but you can see right here, Andrew, they're pretty much nose to tail. I think there's no separating these guys until we get to the pit window.
And that pit window really is opening up at any point in time. I think it's just a matter of when these guys want to go ahead and pit. Usually we see some tankers early, but not many. We might see 1 or 2, test the waters, come into the pit lane, get their fuel early, but I don't think we're going to see that just yet. If anything, it's going to come from one of those guys that's leading a group like Sam Holt or Randall White. As here we go, way off track goes Ed Sancinelli. He gets back on. right in front of Schultheis. And I think Schultheis knows the situation here for fuel, obviously. He's wanting to save fuel versus Sancinelli. He knows that he doesn't really have to make this pass yet. Third place is a good ways behind them. That is Alesh Mom. And we're talking about a 10-second gap, so Chris can absolutely wait.
Yeah, you could see clearly that he didn't want that place. You know, he was pretty much stepping on the brakes, pretty much pushing Sancinelli up the main straightaway. So he definitely wants to save as much fuel as he can. Meanwhile, Sean Cole is definitely going for the move right
contact!
Here. Oh, and unfortunately, they both make contact. You can see the number 46 there stopping, and looks like Stan Donnet is going to be resuming. I don't think he's going to have a slowdown penalty, Andrew, but, well, unfortunately, those two came into contact. So close racing between them, and unfortunately it all came to touches.
And meanwhile, Schultheis is making a move finally, and Lesmo won there, sideways up out of the corner for Schultheis as he dives into the second Lesmo. He's got the advantage on Sancinelli and takes that spot away now. So they switch positions. A lot just happened in a couple of battles that are actually now right in front of each other. Stan Donnet, by the way, grabs that spot back away, technically, from Sean Cole, even though Flo Doms passed them both, as did Sam Hinchy. But Sean was kind enough to stop and wait through that chicane and give that position right back to Stan Donnet. He's still a couple of spots behind where he was, but certainly sportsmanship nonetheless. And behind these guys, Chris Schultheis over Ed Sancinelli. This is your amateur race lead battle. I'm surprised Schultheis made that move, considering we saw him wait through the front stretch, and actually Sancinelli way out there. He is really going wide in Parabolica, and he's losing time doing it.
Yeah, I think something, I'm not quite sure if his tires are overheating, Andrew, but that's the second time we've seen him doing the mistake. And you can see right there, Schultheis is absolutely checking away from him, even with the slipstream, it looks like he cannot get close. And now it looks like Rogers, when the number 20 Porsche, is going to go down his inside. Can he get the move done? They're going to go side by side. Oh, making contact. And you can see right here, even though he's struggling, Andrew, Sancinelli isn't giving away any free positions.
It's the onboard from the BMW of Sancinelli, and I think you'll see Chad Rogers fight to the left side this time into the second chicane. Are we going to see that? Yes, here comes that Porsche, and up the inside will go. No, Rogers actually backs out now for this corner and will wait for Sancinelli. Nice move there, but Sancinelli already a second back of the 008. That's a little concerning, actually, for the amateur point leader. He's got plenty of a gap, but not what you want to have happen. Is actually David Payne recently. Wow, he's actually just inside the top 20. He is 20th position. And this guy, you know, we talk about Sancinelli leading the class, JP, but this is absolutely your next best. Not only because he's literally second in points, but 2 wins of the season, 1 last week at Daytona. He has looked good every single race, just hasn't always had the points. I think he might have missed 1 race. That's a problem for David Payne to have all this damage, as we saw earlier in Lesmo 2, but he's 20th, and I think this damage is a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we saw, just that damage being no fault of his own. He could have been set for even, I guess, a 3rd place on his class right now, but unfortunately that damage really set him back, and you can see right there, he's definitely struggling, straight line speed, the balance of the car on corners. He's definitely losing a few tenths of a second per lap, but at least, he's still racing. He's still in 20th place. He's going to get a good haul of points. He's just ahead of Clark, so he might lose that position. It looks like Sancinelli is losing that position right there to Rogers. And yeah, you can see the Porsche jumps ahead of the BMW, Andrew, and gets that position done. Meanwhile, these two are also battling right here side by side as we head into turn 1. Who's going to come out ahead, the Porsche or the Corvette?
Clint Fletcher makes that pass. That is good for 15th as a pro over Alesh Mom, an amateur. So Fletcher moves up 1 more spot, now is 5 seconds ahead to Moses Choi. And Kevin Burrows, this is worth watching, is right back within 3/10 of Randall White. This is a really solid battle that I think will have a big impact on this race. It's clearly slowing Randall down just a little bit more. And Randall could be saving fuel, actually, ahead of Kevin. That could be slowing him down, really. But Kevin also, he's in that TLDR fold with Sam Holt and Flo Doms and Terry Crouch and all those guys. So if Kevin actually slows Randall down, that helps his teammate in Sam Holt a ton of the championship.
Absolutely, it's obviously he has his teammates to help him, and that's a perfect strategy that you put in, Andrew. Obviously, if Kevin goes down the inside like this, just keeps battling, keep going side by side through these. He's obviously going to be bringing Antonio back into this battle right here, because going down the inside of Parabolica is definitely not the corner where you want to, because look at how much they're both slowing down on the straightaway. They're going to go side by side through turn one, even dare I say. As you can see there, Randall White, could he be slowing down just a tiny little bit to make sure Burrows goes ahead? Looks like not quite. Still, side by side, they're going to be slowing each other very, very much, Andrew. And, well, if this is a strategy that Burrows is using, it's definitely working a treat.
Yeah, I think Randall would have been better suited waiting right there and getting back in behind Kevin Burrows and not having Joey Antonio roll up on him. But now here comes even Johnny Alford. So call this a battle between third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The four-car battle as Sancinelli ducks into the pit lane, and you can see Burrows not letting Randall White have any peek into the corner there. Moves over left, moves over right, and is going to keep on control of that third position. Sancinelli in the pit lane, by the way, he comes in at his number 57 BMW. And he will pull right back away. 15.45 seconds. 15.45 seconds in the pit box. About 36, it looks like 37, almost 38 on the pit lane as a whole. So that's the mark we're watching for Edgar Sancinelli and everybody else in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. The first, yes, you could say victim of the pit lane. We're just going to have to wait and see. Time will tell if that was a good stop or not. You can see they're paying well over a second. Clears. Yeah, no quick repair for him. You can see the car is still damaged, but, well, a second faster, Andrew, than Sancinelli.
And I don't believe these guys have a quick repair anyways, so David Payne going to have to deal with that damage. That's going to be a tough round for him to swallow. All the while, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth in a line still. Joey Antonio pulled up to Randall White. Randall's faster, certainly, than the two behind him, but if he's stuck battling with Kevin Burrows, that could keep these guys in this conversation as they currently are down the front stretch here at Monza. Up front, it's nearly a 3-second lead between Sam Holt and Todd Alea. Sam is driven away. And that about recaps you on the first 6 cars in this race. And there's really not a whole lot happening with Flo Doms or Stan Donnet currently, but Sam Hinchy, meanwhile, actually comes into the pit lane. So we are seeing those early takers, albeit later than we expected as we near halfway.
Interesting to see these many people jumping early on the pit lane. Obviously, the car's going to get a bit heavier. That's going to hurt you a little bit on the straight lane speed. Not a lot, but still very, very interesting. As Sam disappears for a second, and he completely disappears now. That's very, very not good, Andrew. The number 93 was having a great race. He was inside the top 10, wasn't he? He just had a contact with Sean Cole, but I think he was still inside the top 10.
He actually was the benefactor of that contact with Sean Cole and Stan Donnet. So he had made up a few spots. It was actually, I want to say, 8th position behind Flo Doms and ahead of Stan Donnet and Sean Cole. So a little bit puzzling as to why he is stopped, unless, of course, it was circumstances outside of his own control. But either way, not ideal at all. As Stan Donnet, actually, this is an interesting battle as they pass a lapped car. That was Brandon Carl. They just went by into Ascari. Stan Donnet chasing Flo Doms, who started on pole today, has had a couple of issues and is now in the 7th position. As we take a look here, just a lap or so ahead of halfway.
And, well, what a race has been so far, Andrew. Plenty of overtakes, unfortunately, a few instances, but, I think that's Monza. We kind of expected it, but I'm very, very much liking the overtakes and the racecraft of all of these drivers. As now Stand On, it's definitely approaching Flo Downs, who definitely has that front-end damage that we saw after his contact, so this is going to be interesting. The Ferrari versus the Porsche. Now, obviously, Flo with that little bit of damage, I think he's definitely going to be on the back foot, Andrew. Question is, will he make the number 401's life a bit easier, or will he fight for this position, especially judging he could be close to his pit window?
Well, Flo so far, I think, is just trying to ignore that pressure from behind, not checking the mirrors, just running his race right now. That's all you can ask a driver to do, is run your race. Don't worry about the guys out back until they're alongside you. Then you can do something about it. But right now, Flo Dom is deflecting that pressure as the drivers ahead are into the Lesmos. Kevin Burrows, Randall White, Joey Antonio, Johnny Alford. I think we'll be talking about this bunch quite a bit throughout the course of the evening as we still have half a race to go. All the while, Sam Holt continues to lead. Now, we've seen this a lot. We've seen it. We've seen this kind of speed out of Sam almost every single race. He missed the first round, I do believe, at Circuit of the Americas, and since then, it has been the Sam Holt show. He's run 4 races. He has won 2 of those. The 2 that stick out that he has not won, of course, would be Silverstone and Daytona. In fact, I think those are the 2 most recent rounds, haven't they been? So I guess I can check my notes on that one actually quickly. But yeah, Silverstone, Daytona, the last 2 races, he has not won. He won the 2 races prior. Those were Road America and Watkins Glen. Now, at Silverstone, he had a big issue. Beginning of the race, early on, he had an issue, spun around, and just tried to make that comeback. It didn't quite work. He still came back to a good spot, I want to say around the top 5, but it wasn't the day that he wanted at all. And last week at Daytona, he had the race all but won, JP, until at a turn number 4, in fact, between the pit lane entrance and the start-finish line, he has a catastrophic hardware failure that causes his car to come to a stop just before the start-finish line as Todd Alea goes by to claim victory. Now, I'm not sure about you, but that sounds like the worst luck that a fantastic driver could possibly have, especially while dominating at a place like Daytona. It's not easy to dominate and drive away at Daytona in a sports car, but he did it.
Yeah, on these tracks, Daytona, Monza, it's not easy to break away from second place, obviously with the massive straightaways in the slipstream, but he did it last week, he's doing it this weekend, so it just shows the class of a driver he is. So unfortunately on the last 2 weeks he's had bad luck. He won the second and third round, so he obviously didn't win the last 2, Andrew. So I wonder if he wins tonight, am I the culprit of him not winning? I wasn't here the last 2 weeks, he didn't win. If he wins tonight, I mean, something has to be connected around there. Either way, he's nearly 4 seconds ahead of Todd Alea. What a fantastic drive has been so far, and at this point, Andrew, dare I say, he doesn't even need to lift and coast anymore. If he continues just pushing it, even if he puts more fuel, I think he has this in the bag.
The concern, though, is if he puts himself in a position to where Todd Alea can draft back to him in case Todd doesn't be saved anything. You just don't want to allow that to happen if you can prevent it. If you're Sam Holt in this case, you want to try and stay well ahead, and it sounds like he's clutching a little bit, but not much, if at all, into turn 1. So he's not really saving right now. He's kind of on what you're talking about there, where he can just kind of run his race to the end of this thing and walk away likely with a victory or at least second place. We'll see how it works out for him. This portion of the broadcast, as we get on past halfway, brought to you by Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. Big thank you to all of our partners here at the Simpit Road Racing Series, though. The Simpit at thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing and Accelerate Esports. With 27 and a half minutes to go, pit lane is about to get busy. It's about to open up. And we are going to prep for that while we go Pit Stop TV side by side. So much left to happen, so much left to go here at Autodromo Nacional Monza. Plenty of racing when we come back here at Pit Stop TV.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Autodromo Nacional Monza. We've had a lot of fun so far today checking out the action for the Simpit Road Racing Series, and the action is far from over. Battles inside the top 10, battles throughout the field, and pit lane is opening up for the series best. You can even see Nicholas Bautista in the pit lane underneath our scenic camera here on the front stretch. Thanks for joining us today. We are in the evening as we work closer and closer towards sunset. Track temp is staying steady at 81 degrees, but the air temp is starting to drop just a bit, down to 79 degrees now, and winds are really not much of the conversation. 22 minutes to go. Sam Holt leading the way. That's been the talk of the town, though, today in car 18. And actually an issue, Chad Rogers and Clint Fletcher crashed. I can't tell quite where this is, actually. This looks like...
I think it's on this car.
Yeah, I think it is a Scari. I think you're right.
Yes, it looks like a bit of contact on one thing. It looks like Clint is able to continue. Maybe not.
No, he's finally
his car did. Yeah, he towed. His car didn't look too damaged from the first glance, but now with the replay injury, we're gonna see exactly what happened between these two. As you can see right here, coming straight. Oh, and Clint, I think, just misjudged from the cockpit view. The distance between him and the other driver, and yeah, his car wasn't too damaged, but I think just out of, I guess, sportsmanship, decided to tow. Really unfortunate incident right there.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Chad Rogers, brand new to the series. In fact, we don't even have the number graphic for him yet, but this is his view of the contact. Just checks up a little bit earlier than I think Clint was expecting, and yeah, gets punted pretty big time into a Scari. That's a lot of damage to that Porsche. Unfortunately, he is likely done for the day. Yeah, he's even towed to the pit lane, so car 20 in trouble.
Really unfortunately leading that battle, but unfortunately, took a turn for the worse, close to the pit window. I'm not quite sure if the 20 had already pitted, but yeah, unfortunately, he was back to the pit lane under other circumstances. Meanwhile, you can see right there, Andrew, the gap between Sam Holt and Todd Alea grew to nearly 4.5 seconds already. So that gap is certainly getting bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, looks like Randall White, cleared Joe Antonio by a few seconds. So at least he got some breathing room right there. But he's 1 point something seconds behind Kevin Burrows. Meanwhile, Alford, the number 710, Andrew, comes to the pit lane in that Corvette. How long is he going to be stationary for?
Here comes Flo Doms, the pole sitter today here at Monza. And he's playing the gear song of his peoples as he comes down to his pit box. But Johnny Alford expecting about a 15-second stop in the box, and it's 15-second stop in the box. Flo Doms will be leaving the pit lane in about 10 seconds. Christian Theis comes in, and his BMW pits towards the beginning of the lane. And there goes Flo Doms, 14.23 seconds, so he was able to save some fuel. Let's see, Schultheis in that 008 BMW, what has he done? Has he saved some fuel? It looks like, not a whole lot, 16.33 seconds in the box. You're watching that time on the right. That is the box time for these drivers. The lane time as a whole is the left time that stops there at a 37.35. And Schultheis has got an Arizona flag on his car, actually. I wonder, what is his club here, West? I never realized that Chris Schultheis here, it seems like it's from Arizona, but I join you there. I'm no longer in Arizona, Chris, but it is one heck of a state, as they actually are playing host to the NASCAR series season finale today at Phoenix Raceway. Christian Clark into the pit lane in car 72 in his Corvette. He's had a rough day, one lap down, 16th spot. And a long pit stop there. And here comes Todd Alea, second place, coming into the pits.
And in my eyes deceiving me, Andrew, does it look like a tiny little bit of damage on the front end of the Porsche? The number 426 of Kevin
A little
Burrows
bit. That could be from curbs.
Yeah, could be. Obviously using those sausage curves a little bit. Kevin, you can see right there. Car looks very much intact. Randall Watt as well. Doesn't look like he has any bit of damage. Stand on it coming in.
1388.
That's a fast pit stop right there. I think the fastest one we had so far.
Kevin Burrows should be the first of these guys to leave, and he does, a 13 flat. Randall White, though, takes a 12.83. He gets out ahead of Kevin Burrows, gets that spot back away. So third place for Randall White. Joe Antonio follows off at a 13.07. Johnny Alford gets back out there. There's Sean Cole. It's going to be a long stop for him behind Stan Donnet, 14.62. Moses Choi in the pit lane. Flo Doms goes on by these guys. How about Alesh Mom into the pits there in car 194? And Dustin Oberlo, oh, he's spun coming into the pits.
Oh, I think just broke way too late, Andrew. Instead of locking up just the front, looks like he locked up all four. The number 88 now coming to a stop. He's going to be losing valuable time as now he starts his car fill-up. And, well, that was certainly something, wasn't it?
And let's see how it happened here. This is not something I would have expected today, but he had some kind of issue coming to the pit lane. Let's check it out here for Dustin Oberlo. You'll see it in just a moment when he comes around Parabolica. Does he check up and get punted maybe? No, comes in and just locks up the rears, slides into the grass, and comes to a halt. And actually, he reverses to get into the pit lane, and it damages his rear wing. So it just piles on there for Dustin Oberlo in that Corvette. Meanwhile, here's our race leader on the pit lane, Sam Holt, finally coming in. This is the money stop for everybody to watch. How much fuel does he take? How long is he stationary? Just 11.95 seconds. 12 seconds for the leader, Sam Holt. Boy, is that a gamble.
And he pretty much just won quite a few seconds over Tadalay. You know, that's 2 seconds quicker just on the stop. And you can see that gap grew to 6.7, 6.5. So yeah, around 2 seconds overall as well. So, I mean, a money stop for Sam Holt. Really good, Andrew. But something that I'm excited for is Randall White back in third place and Kevin Burrows in fourth, Andrew. You know, that jump on the pit stop means we have a race on our hands. It looks like this race is, well, it's getting heated up, Andrew. 16 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Time is running out. The number 426. If he wants to help his teammate, he needs to get past the number 84 just ahead.
It looks like Burrows is still just a little bit faster. But in only 16 and a half minutes, it's not going to be cut and dry to make that pass. We're down to the point where Randall White was already challenging earlier to not let that pass go, be complete. Randall is going to be a lot more difficult to pass now with it being later in the race, more on the line at this point. Closer to the finish, there's going to be a larger fight.
And I'm all up for it, Andrew. I want to see these guys going side by side for the whole lap if possible, as long as they keep it clean. And Randall White obviously leading the championship, nearly 40 points ahead of second place. So, he's in a position where he kind of needs to defend, but, he cannot risk a DNF over one position, Andrew. But obviously, as soon as Kevin Burrows gets past, Joe Antonio and Alford are just behind him.
Speaking of Johnny Alford, he's fourth in this train, trailing Joe Antonio. And, problems. Schultheis around. This is out of the second chicane on the racetrack. Looks like a nice, easy spin for him. He gets back going, but now well behind Ed Santinelli in that amateur battle, which means a second race win likely then for car 57, Ed Santinelli, who is in the top 10 currently as an amateur driver. This is big in that amateur class. David Payne currently sits in the, 5th spot. Oh boy, this championship looks rather tied up right now for the Frito Sport 57, but we'll still have 4 races to go after today. He can't give up. Now I shouldn't say he can't give up. He can't get comfortable yet, but here we go. The challenge for third, JP, and that was nearly contact. Burrows pinched off the 84 a little bit. Randall White stopped in the middle of the first chicane, gave the time up, tried to get back at him in the second apex, and nothing was going to work there. Can he get back to the 426, or does he play defense over Antonio?
You can see right here, they're all so close. Looks like Randall White's not going to go down the inside. He's not going to try any move. In fact, coming up to the second chicane, Andrew, but you can see the gap between these 4 is also closing. I thought for 1 second Kevin has squeezed Randall White very, very well on turn number 1, but you can see that Kevin went really wide on turn number 2, so they were both pushing to the limit. You can see their Alford now is really pushing Antonio to the limit to try and get that Corvette past a Porsche to challenge the 2 other Corvettes in front of him. So it's all heating up, Andrew. 14 minutes to go. What are we going to see from now on?
3 Porsches and a Chevrolet headed down to Ascari. Let's go back and get a look at what happened there in turn 1. Yeah, that'll tell the story a whole lot better than just the brief moment we saw for these guys. This will be the onboard with Randall White, and you'll see, here goes Kevin Burrows into turn 1. You can see the headlights alongside. And at the first apex, I think Randall was just stopping for the corner and it's a better run out for Kevin Burrows. I don't think there's really even too much squeezing going on there. That was just these guys racing for this position at this point in the race.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin just, I guess, thought Randall was going to be alongside of him. And even for turn 2, you can see he took a really wide turn. Ended up working out for him, getting the better drive. But you can see now Antonio looks like he's going to be looking down the inside. Not quite. Maybe that was a defensive move. Either way, the number 31 remains in 5th place ahead of Alford. And you can see right there, Andrew, they're closing. I wonder, is Kevin slowing down just a little bit on those corners where he knows he can be overtaking to allow Joe Antonio to get close enough to Randall White to possibly make a move?
It's a possibility for sure. Inside of 13 minutes to go, Joe Antonio clearly looks hungry. He's been good this season. 1 point out of 2nd place in the standings and battling with Todd Alea for that. It looks like Alea certainly going to have the advantage today. But Joa certainly will take any points he can get to stay at least 3rd. Behind these guys, the battle for 7th, Flo Doms stand on it. About a half-second separation between this Ferrari and Porsche. Sean Cole still 9th. There's even a battle for 14th with Dale Maxwell and Dustin Oberlo. A couple of Corvettes back here. 14th and 15th. All eyes, though, up front.
I think this is the battle to look out, Andrew, because, 4 cars going at it, the championship leader being involved, I think we just have to keep an eye out for it. And you can see right there, White just less than 0.3 of a second behind Burrows. We're just going to see right now how much he gains on the slipstream. Is he going to be close enough to challenge down into turn 1? You can see the gap coming down. You can see visually the blue and white Porsche coming closer and closer, but looks like he's just playing it safe a little bit. Maybe just using that slipstream to keep himself in 4th place, which definitely is a very, very valid strategy. Meanwhile, Joe Antonio closing up braking zone after braking zone, just inching closer, but not close enough for a move just yet.
Nothing changes that lap in turn 1. That seems like the best opportunity to pass for sure, but then you've got to defend it for the entire lap. Randall White, as we mentioned, coming into today, the point leader. Let's bring up those standings for a moment. Randall White comes in with a 38-point lead over Todd Alea there, separated by 2 positions on the racetrack, and that equates, before bonuses, that equates to the difference of 8 points. So make that 30 points between those drivers now, between 2nd and 4th positions. And that also brings Sam Holt into things big time. If he's earning 50 points for this race to Randall White's current 32, that is an 18-point gain for Sam Holt before bonuses. And actually, we might not even have, I don't think we actually have bonuses. So regardless, that is a big gain. So make it a 30-point gap between Randall White and Todd Alea as they run, and between Randall White and Sam Holt as they run.
That's going to drop to 28 points.
Yeah. So Sam Holt currently in line to take 2nd away from Todd Alea in the standings.
And how 1 week changes everything, right, Andrew? Sam Holt couldn't finish last week's race due to hardware failure, finishing 1 lap down tonight. If it continues like these, and I'm sorry for the poor quality audio, but I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to be the culprit, he's going to be jumping up to 2nd place and closing considerably that championship gap. So, 1 race at a time, Andrew, and things can change quite a lot.
That they can, and that they usually do here for the Simpit Road Racing Series. We'll see exactly what these guys are able to do, I suppose. Just watching the front stretch, and actually a battle for that spot. Randall White goes on through, and Kevin Burrows, you said you were knocking on wood, messing with your mic for a second. I was trying to fix a mic issue, and here we go. The battle opens up for 3rd spot. That was a move from Antonio down to the 2nd chicane. Burrows covers it up, but suddenly a problem for the 426, and here comes Joe Antonio. You can see Johnny Alford all over the back end of that Porsche, trying to maybe find a hole, but they can't go 3 wide in the Lesmos, and now on the outside is Burrows. Contact there, and Burrows goes off into the dirt. He comes back across.
Wow.
Alford through to 4th.
Wow, what an amazing battle between these two. Something is definitely went wrong with Burrows, but Alford really benefiting from those two making contact and going too wide and obviously being preoccupied with one another, he just went through and got 2 free positions. Actually, yeah, that was 2 free positions for him. Really good racing. Now we're going to take a look at exactly what happened to Kevin Burrows. You can see, Andrew, the gap is massive. Did he outbrake himself? I mean, out on his own?
Into turn 1, Kevin Burrows just nice and easy and ran away up a lot of time.
I think that was a slowdown on the first
Oh, it
corner.
must have been.
Yeah.
It didn't even look like a corner cut.
He was just barely on edge. He just crossed with, I think, all 4 wheels on that white line. And you can see right there, he's trying to get rid of it, just trying to lose a position. But unfortunately, it backfired and he lost, well, all 3 of them.
Let's watch this. This is a good view, actually, as to what happens here in turns 1 and 2. So watch Burrows come into this corner. And I'm assuming it's this first apex. He's got all 4 wheels over that white line on the curbing there, so it might be that first apex. He's clearly not cutting here on the second apex, as they know. That is big.
That is massive, Andrew. With 7 minutes to go, he's gonna have a huge mountain to climb if he wants those positions back. And now he's just going to be running against time, essentially. You can see there, Randall White essentially checking away from Joe Antonio. And this is, once again, going to change the championship points.
Yeah, this now means Randall White is earning 35 points to Sam Holt's 50 and Todd Alea's 40. So make it only a 5-point gain now for Todd Alea. Change that gap to 33 points. Meanwhile, it is now a 31-point gap for Sam Holt to Randall White. So that was actually huge in terms of the standings. It is 3 extra points that Randall White has to fight with. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't think Johnny Alford in 6.5 minutes is going to make up 1.6, 1.7 seconds to make this pass on Randall White. That is big for the championship.
That is absolutely massive. So, taking away that point that we mentioned that it could change week after week, it can literally change lap after lap. And just one lap before, we were talking about, a 28-point gap. Now we're talking a well over 30-point gap. I mean, it's just crazy how crazy this championship is. Just one lap ago, the circumstances were completely different. Now Randall White, as you mentioned, has a few more points to play with and is looking much, much comfortable in the 3rd position.
And the flip side of this conversation certainly has to be Sam Holt, currently leading, has led every single lap of this race, all 26... Actually, no, he's not led every single lap of this race. I'm sorry, I forgot. Flo Dom started from pole and actually led the first portion as Sam gives a thank you flash there to David Payne. So 26 laps led for Sam Holt today at Monza out of the 30 that have been completed. We expect this lap and 3 more. And, Sam a little bit deep into his car, but we certainly expect car 18 to lead the rest as he's got a 6-second gap back to Todd Alea. It's actually narrowing. Todd definitely had a better run through Ascari that time than Sam did. That was deep, definitely for the 18 car. But, we talk about the issues he had last week. There was only the one issue. There was the one singular problem, and it wasn't even within his control. It was at the very last moment at Daytona where his hardware crashed. We're going to keep talking about it because of how big of a deal it is for this championship. It completely changed the whole scope of this battle, and now means that he has to make up all these points. He's doing a great job of at least starting that road to recovery, if you will, today at Monza.
And I think this is going to be a point where we could be talking, Andrew, up until the last lap of the last race on this championship. This could be a championship deciding, a fact that happened last week. And obviously now he having to fight those points, having to grab as many points as he can, and obviously now relying a bit more than ever on his teammates to try to help him. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how it all plays out at the end of the season. But, well, he's doing everything he can, leading. I'm pretty sure he has the fastest lap of the race, but, just winning each and every single race is exactly what he has to do.
On board with Sam at the moment. Just inside of 4 minutes to go, he's now led 27 of 31 laps, and that number is going to keep rising. And he's just so within control right now. He has this thing completely down pat as there's a battle. Here we go, 7th place. Flo Doms stand on it. Flo losing the spot. Stand on it going by, but it's not over. Nightfall at Monza, by the way. This is a new one for us, that we've not seen this before at Autodromo Nacional Monza, but here we go. Into the dark, and Stand on it takes that spot away for 7th. Here comes Flo Doms back to the inside of Lesmo 2. Side by side they go.
That was very brave and could possibly be working out. You can see it's pretty much a drag race, Andrew, between a Ferrari and a Porsche. The Porsche has the better line as he's going to have the inside through Ascari. You can see they're pretty much touching mirrors at this point. And who's going to outbrake each other? Looks like they're going to go side by side through Ascari. We haven't seen this today. And you can see Flo Doms on the outside of the Ferrari. Can he get the move done? He can. And that has to be the move of the race.
Flo does not want to give this spot up. He started from pole. He's had a real rough day. Does not want to finish 8th. Wants to at least finish 7th. With 2.5 minutes to go, the battle is on. Meanwhile, Moses Choi, recently passing Ed Sancinelli for 10th spot, moves Ed back out of the top 10 overall. Oh, what a pit stop for Flo Doms. That's got to be incidents. He is upset.
This has to be drive-through penalty. It's heartbreaking, Andrew. After that amazing overtake, I wonder if he just got an instant point by just maybe running a bit too wide or due to contact. Oh, just on the final 2 minutes of the race.
He is not happy. I wonder if there was a 4X there that Flo is not happy about that we missed. He'll merge right back in behind Ed Sancinelli, which is a little bit interesting considering Ed is just trying to wrap up this win for himself. He might let Flo go. This is into Curva Grande, and yeah, he's going to let Flo have the inside for Curva Grande, and now Flo will be able to battle with Moses Choi. Flo, I think, is out for a bit of blood.
Yeah, right now, Andrew, the final 90 seconds of the race, he's going to be trying to get these positions as fast as he can, and you can see right there, he moves himself up to 9th, and I think we're going to see this Ferrari literally maybe even setting the fastest lap of the race if he possibly can, but you can see right there, just gets a position and instantly checks away a little bit. Meanwhile, we cut to Joe Antonio trying to get his position back, trying to move himself back into 4th place. He needs to pass Johnny Alford just ahead of him, Andrew. And, well, with pretty much, I think we might be on the last lap of the race or the second to last lap. Time is running out.
It looks like Sam Holt might have picked up pace just enough to put us through to 35 laps in this race. We're on to lap 34 now as we're on board with Joy Antonio. 2/10 the gap, and Johnny Alford even was just now inside of a second to Randall White. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's not over just yet between these 3 cars. It's the same battle we had laps ago, minus Kevin Burrows now for these 3 positions. And Alford might have had a slowdown. He's wide through Curva Grande, giving up time to the Porsche.
And you can see they're going to go side by side through the second chicane. Andrew, who's going to come out on top? The Corvette has the inside line, but Joe Antonio completely outbreaks him. Can he get the car slowed down? He can on the apex, but the Corvette is going to have the better run. And you can see there Alford is going to retain that position for the time being. But what a battle these two still have, Andrew. Still a few seconds to go. Will this be the last lap or not? We're just going to find out, but these two are definitely going to the line.
This is officially the final lap presented by Whiplash Media SimCams. 34 laps will be the distance here at Monza today. So into Curva Parabolica for the final time for Sam Holt. Sancinelli goes back by Moses Choi for the 10th position overall, but Sam Holt will leave Parabolica. Redemption for the Englishman. He wins at Monza.
And what a drive it was, Andrew. Completely dominating, the fastest guy on race pace. Absolutely fantastic. It looks like Alford is going to be retaining his 4th position. Can Joe Antonio do anything?
Oh! No! Antonio sends the Corvette for a spin, and he will stop. That means Kevin Burrows goes by for 4th. Alford's trying to get back going. Where's Stan Donnet? Can he pass these guys?
Oh, it's going to be a drag race.
Those cars are still stopped. Alford now finally rolling.
It's going to be down to the line. Joe Antonio might lose the position. I think right now it might be too late. Yeah, it will be. So Alford is going to finish in 5th place. Antonio is going to finish in 6th. And Stan Donnet just barely is going to miss out on getting 2 free positions, Andrew. But it was a last lap attempt from Antonio. Did not work out. And Kevin Burrows just pretty much said thank you as he passed on by.
A few more cars to wrap up their races. Sean Cole will go 8th. Flo Dom's 9th. Ed Sancinelli hangs on for 10th. Moses Choi will finish 11th today. He'll be the next car across the line. And actually, okay, I saw a name go red there. I got a little bit concerned. One car stopped there. Flo Dom's, as soon as he got to the line, stopped, pulled over. Schultheis will finish 12th today as he comes to the line now. And Alesh Mom will be the final car to finish today here at Monza. Alesh will finish 13th ahead of drivers. Actually, no, Alesh is not the final car. Dustin Oberlo will be the final car to finish on the lead lap today in 14th position. And Oberlo will come to the line any moment in time now. Dale Maxwell, the first car, 1 lap down in 15th spot. But checkers fly for Dustin Oberlo. And that does it as far as the racing program today at Monza. Boy, what a day. Let's check out, first of all, the unofficial race results after this. And let's theorize a little bit about point standings. You see, actually, Sam Holt is the winner. There we go. Sam Holt, the winner today at Monza, finally gets that redemption from the last couple of weeks at Silverstone and Daytona. That is big for the championship. He's going to make up 15 points over Randall White and a bunch over Todd Alea. So now Randall White should be leading the standings still, but only by 31 points over Sam Holt and 33 over Todd Alea. Kevin Burrows, though, finishes 4th over Johnny Alford, Joe Antonio, and Stan Don, and even Sean Cole and Flo Doms, the top 9 pro finishers, before you get to Ed Sancinelli winning in amateur.
That was an excellent race for them. Moses Choi is going to finish in 11th place. Schultheis is going to be the 2nd place in the amateur class, in 12th place for him. Alesh Mom is going to finish in 13th ahead of Dustin Oberlo in 14th. Dale Maxwell is going to finish in 15th place ahead of David Payne, Christian Clark, and Mike Nickham, those 1 lap down. Nicholas Batista is going to finish in 19th place, 2 laps down. Brendan Carl, the number 77, in 20th place.
Finishing 21st, it's Chad Rogers in car 20 over Clint Fletcher. Those drivers both 13 laps down after their incident in Ascari. Sam Hinchey, 23rd. Not really sure what happened to him. He just kind of ended his own race, I guess. Eric Hardeman there, 24th, 26 laps down. And Wouter Van Mariek and Chris Generelli at the back end of the field, not really making any laps. Generelli did not start. Wouter, I think, made 1 lap and pulled it into the pit lane. That is one way to wrap things up, JP, for sure. That is big time redemption, though, for Sam Holt. Everything he needed back from Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. He did what he had to do, and he needs to keep doing this for the remaining of the season. You know, he still has, 3 rounds left, and he needs to do this. He needs to repeat this over and over again if he wants a shot at that title. But, it's still a long way to go, Andrew, and certainly he's going to start practice as soon as possible for next week's race.
Before we talk to our top drivers from the afternoon, a big thank you to our partners here with the Simpit Road Racing Series. Of course, the Simpit at thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. Let's bring in today's race winner. Should have been last week's race winner, Sam Holt. We didn't get to talk to you last week after Daytona. But for clarification on the broadcast, what did happen?
Hi guys. So my screen's just completely froze last week, and then it just said connecting to Fanatec stuff, so it clearly just disconnected my wheel and pedals, and then it was just stuck on full throttle and full brake, and then when it kind of reconnected, I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't change gear or get going again. So yeah, it's just unbelievable.
And is that anything that you can even try to remedy, or is it just one of those freak things that you can't plan for at all, and it really just has to, it's one of those things that happens?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't even get that pissed off about it, really, because it was just so ridiculous that it was kind of funny, really. Just the timing of it was just unreal.
Well, you come back and redeem yourself today, putting yourself right back into victory lane where I think you belong, and might have finished the last 2 weeks if not for adversity. So now it's a 31-point gap unofficially between you and Randall White. First off, how did you execute today, and how do you get this championship now with 4 rounds to go?
Yeah, so today was just trying to get Todd out of the draft. It's a bit like Daytona, whereas if you sit in the draft, you can just stay there. And fortunately for me, he made a bit of a mistake, and I managed to pull the gap and then just slowly extend it. And then, for the rest of the season, just got to keep plugging away. Todd and Randall are just so consistent, so yeah, just need to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, there you go. Sam Holt grabs another race win, 3 on the season now in the first 5 races. We'll see if he can double that number or more to the back end of the season. Congratulations, Sam. Just proper stuff. Good to see you back where you belong, I think, at Victory Lane today, and starting to chip into that point lead.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Cheers, guys.
Sam Holt there winning today at Monza, and I should correct myself. It's not in the first 5 races, but the first 6 races. So far he's batting 500 of the races total, but hey, 3 wins in the first 5 races that he has run this season, considering he missed the season opener. Let's go on down to P2 today. Todd Alea in car 27. Last week it was a winner interview. Today it's a runner-up. JP, here's car 27.
So Todd, Monza is such a simple track, but it's far from simple when you're behind the wheel. Isn't that correct?
That's true. It's am I on? Yeah. Yeah, it's there is some technical sections of the track, but the draft is important too. And I made a mistake in the draft and also had some damage from one of the curbs, I think, and I couldn't keep up with Sam after that.
So you pretty much answered the 2 questions that were happening that I was going to ask. Obviously, you mentioned that you made a small mistake and that ended up giving away, pretty much taking away the slipstream from you. Can you explain how that happened?
We were following Flo, I think, for the first couple laps, and I think Flo made a mistake going into the second chicane. Sam passed him, and then I passed him, and I was right behind Sam. And then when you know somebody's behind you in the draft, you start saving fuel. You try to back him up. So he was backing me up and saving fuel. I'm like, all right, well, I'll save fuel too. And then he slowed down a little bit too much in the first chicane, and I had to the car came unstable on me, and I spun a little bit, and he got a 1.1 second gap from me right there, and then I couldn't make it up after that. Plus this fly all of a sudden decided to pop on my windshield at the beginning of the race, right where my field of view is, and that fly really affected my driving a little bit. No, Sam's always fast, and he was fast today. So once he saw he dropped me from the draft, he didn't save anymore. So.
That explains that pretty much. Now, based on our math, me and Andrew, we think that Sam has jumped you on the season standings. With that being said, how does that affect you in any way? Does that change your practice for next week?
Not really. I'm not very good at it, so I'll just probably try to practice some more. But anything can happen. It's just trying to make no mistakes. I know I got one race that I didn't make, but I think that counts as our drop race. And then the second race I didn't qualify, so I had a 7th. So I'm still in the thick of it. Sam's still in the thick of it. I'm just gonna try to keep putting pressure on Sam and Randall. I think it's Randall, me, and Sam right now. So if I can try to put pressure on one or both of them, then that's what I'm going to try to do. Just take one race at a time, though.
Well, sorry, absolutely, Todd. Just keep on going up. We still have a few rounds to go. So, I'm not going to hold you any longer. So I'm just going to wish you the best of luck for next week's race. And hopefully we can talk to you then, maybe in that victor spot. So well done on tonight's race, Todd. Hope to see you next week.
Thanks. See you guys.
So, Andrew, that was second place. Todd Alea, well, unfortunately, a few mistakes dropped him out of contention for tonight's race, but, we clearly know how fast he is, and he definitely still has a shot at this championship.
Yeah, second place is still good, still within striking distance for the title, albeit a little ways out. 33 points in 4 races will be tough to make up, but he can certainly do it as he makes up points on Randall White today. Let's go on down to your amateur race winner, Ed Sanchinelli. Seems like we're talking to this guy every week, whether it's first or for second. Ed, you put it up in first again today, and I think that's a big-time race win, a big statement as David Payne has trouble behind you. This is big for your championship campaign, no?
Yeah, I guess so. I wasn't too sure what happened to Dave, but, every time we get out there, we try to do what we can with the BMW.
And it feels like the amateur field is thinning ever so slightly week by week. Maybe it's one driver here, one driver there. That means it's a lot more difficult to make up points, and you're just doing what you have to do, it seems like, putting yourself out in front and trying to keep yourself there by all costs.
Yeah, I've been noticing, and we all have the real life things that come up, and I've been lucky to be able to make the races. But I mean, today I gotta give some respect to David Payne and Chris Scholzheis, who they had the pace, and it's too bad David had some bad luck. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly what happened, and Chris really had the raw pace. So I just needed to keep the car out there and try not to put a foot wrong, and I know that can easily happen here. So.
How do you go forward? It's Red Bull Ring next week, 4 races to go. You've clearly got a big advantage in the Amateur Championship. How do you move forward to Austria next week?
We're going to try to see what we can do with the car, like we do every week. We try to see what we can do just to hang on to the Porsches and the Ferraris and some of the guys like Johnny in the Corvette. But over there, I mean, we got a deep braking zone as well, and then getting the car rotated in around that is going to be quite a chore. Same with some of the sweeping corners, and the elevation change. It's going to be really tough. So I'm going to try to look after the tires, try to do something with the downforce so we can keep this thing as fast as possible, but still keep it under us.
There you go. Edgar Sancinelli with a class win today at Monza. Ed, congratulations. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot more this season, probably in the next 4 races.
So, guys, always nice talking to you guys and watching the broadcast. Thank you.
Always going to be talking to Ed Sancinelli after a race, and another class win for him here today at Monza. And I definitely think he's almost a lock for that amateur championship. But JP, a whole lot went on today. How do you wrap things up? How do you try and sum that race up in a few words?
Oh, that's really difficult. I'm just happy to be back seeing these guys race, and I think, racecraft. We saw plenty of drivers, getting away and then coming back. Strategies differing sometimes, team strategies coming to play. I'm not quite sure how you can sum this race up, and I'm not quite sure he can sum this championship up in a few words, but they certainly put on a show every single weekend and week out. And, I guess the best way to sum it up is bring Austria. I mean, I'm just excited for next week, and I cannot wait to see how everything's going to shape up on that beautiful racetrack.
We're definitely getting ready then for Austria next week. Let's take a look at our upcoming broadcast here at Pit Stop TV, and you can see the full list of that. Well, not the full list, but the next 3 anyways here on Pit Stop TV. Atlanta Motor Speedway on Wednesday evening, 7:30 Eastern for the Outlaws Sim Series. 1 race is in for the round of 8. In the Outlaws Sim Series playoffs, that means Atlanta is race number 2 of the 3-race round, and that means North Wilkesboro Speedway in a week and a half is the final race of the round of 8, the cutoff race of the round of 8 before they go racing for a championship at Richmond Raceway the first week of December. So, actually, I think that's like the last day of November, technically. So, definitely a lot going on for the Outlaws Sim Series. They are coming down and ready to crown a champion very, very soon. And around the same time they crown a champion, we'll be crowning a champion for the Simpit Road Racing Series. We're already up to round 7 next week at Red Bull Ring, as you can see there, at 1:30 Eastern on Sunday. In case you're curious about the IFL, the iFormula League Formula 3 Series we've recently picked up, they will be back in action at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2 Sundays' time on November 20th. They had a race today. We couldn't quite cover it. I don't actually know exactly who won that race, but I know it was at Montreal, and it seems like points are already up. So drivers in that league, if you're here and you're wondering where that broadcast was, unfortunately we did not have it, but you can go and check in the Discord server and find the results and standings there. A lot of places to keep up with these Pit Stop TV broadcasts coming to you, JP. A lot of places to keep up with Pit Stop TV in general. They're all listed there at the bottom.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, on Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV, and obviously on YouTube.com/PitStopTV1.
Congratulations to today's winners, Sam Holt and Ed Sancinelli. We talked to each of them. Coming up next for the Simpit Road Racing Series, it's Austria at the Red Bull Ring, then Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji to wrap up a season and crown a champion there in Japan. Thanks so much for joining us today. It was truly a pleasure to have you back along for the call, JP. I know you missed a couple of weeks, but this has to get you excited for the rest of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I missed this a lot, Andrew. And certainly, having those final few races, just the places they have been, let alone these drivers, they certainly get me excited.
It was a good one today at Monza, the Temple of Speed. A lot of fun as per usual. Big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV. First off, with the series, of course, the Simpit, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports, and our partners as well here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRepMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Thanks again for watching. Thank you so much, JP, for joining me on the mic today. We will see you next time, hopefully for the Outlaws Sim Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway this Wednesday. But until next time, have a great day, have a great night.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.